What's going on, guys? Alex here with 814 EDC, and today I'm ready to do my 4 review on the Real Steel Knives Pathfinder FFG. Now, this is part of, or via the Lefty passaround group, and is part of the package with the Pathfinder as well as the Nola Chucky Jack, which if you guys caught yesterday's video, I did my full review on that. Really good slip joint value. I definitely have enjoyed getting this knife in. The Pathfinder, on the other hand, not really my cup of tea. I definitely was not super impressed by it. It's a good knife. It's an okay knife, for the price and everything like that. But overall, just not the biggest fan of the Pathfinder. And I just don't know, just not for me. But without further ado, we're going to jump right into the materials section of the full review. Of course, this is coming in, or being made from Real Steel Knives. This is an Ivan Bragnant's design. If you guys can catch that right there. He's a pretty famous designer, I believe, out of Russia. He has quite a few designs with Real Steel and a couple other, obscure knife OEMs that I have seen on, Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that, but I can't think of the name, off the top of my head. This is featuring a crossbar lock, black G10 scales with a black backspacer, a loop over style deep carry pot clip that goes very deep and is reversible, so lefty or righty, which of course is kind of a necessity with an ambidextrous lock. It's in 14C 28N, and that is Ivan's little creator tag. You have a fuller up top here. It's a pretty big knife overall. 14C, like I said, full flat grind. So as far as materials go, again, cannot complain at all with those. So getting a 5 out of 5. Now, I'm not super duper, versed on the Pathfinder FFG. I've heard of it. I knew a little bit about it, but from my understanding, it stemmed from the Pathfinder, which was a fixed blade design with a Scandi grind, from Ivan. Then it went to a folder just basically like this, except for the blade was also I can't talk today. Also a Scandi design. And then this is the third iteration of it with the FFG, or full flat grind, more of a, sort of all around, EDC knife, where the Scandi grind, folder, and fixed blade are more of kind of bushcrafting knives, going out camping, whittling wood, doing those types of things. So I think it's cool to see, how it's sort of evolved throughout the last couple, years, cycles, whatever it may be. But yeah, so, and I believe there's also micarta versions, multiple G10 versions. There was quite a bit on the website of Real Steel. I need to quit rumbling over my words. Real Steel, I will leave a link to down below, specifically to this knife that's currently in stock. And then from there, you can also look and see, what other sort of versions are available, that you might like a little bit more than the fully blacked out version. So some quick specs before we move on. Overall length is 8.76 inches. So like I said, this is a pretty big knife, especially for me. I tend to gravitate more towards the medium to small knives. Closed length coming in at 5.04 inches, a blade length of 3.74 inches, blade thickness of 3.11 millimeters. It's a drop point, of course, and it comes in weighing 4.86 ounces, 83 ounces, which overall, for the size of the knife, it does have a, pretty good lightness to it. I really didn't think it weighed almost 5 ounces, but it makes sense when it's a almost 9-inch knife overall. So yeah. And one thing I am not a huge fan of is this is on washers. It's not on bearings, so it doesn't really make, it makes for an all right action, but definitely not the, drop shut action that we're used to with ambidextrous locks, and, especially in today's day of age with how good of actions you can get from, a crossbar style lock knife like this. But yeah, 5 out of 5 in the materials. Aesthetic. It's okay. I feel like the blade to handle ratio is a little bit off. I feel like you get a really slim and sort of like short blade with a long handle. So that's kind of thrown me for a loop. But overall, it's not not a bad design, just nothing that's like I'm really super crazy in, but it's nothing that's like overly ugly either. So I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to go pretty basic with it. Next up is action, and where I already kind of touched on this, but you do have dual thumb studs here. A little bit of blade play, so this is still, that even goes into it too, because it's not even like it's locked up tight and you're still not even getting, I mean, this is pulled the full way back, and you guys, you have to see I kind of have to shake it a few times. But thumb stud action, flies out of there. Reverse flick, I cannot reverse flick this knife. For some reason, I was just not, I don't know if it's just because of the way, the thumb studs are also like really small and pointy. Not a big fan of those either. They're kind of, aggressive to utilize repeatedly and, fidget with repeatedly. So I'm not a huge fan of those. And I was just never able to, I mean, you can barely get the pad of your thumb in, or your middle finger in there. And it does not have a good enough detent to break past that. And it basically, I mean, there, I got it. But it really, hurt my thumb. I keep saying thumb, middle finger. And just overall not a great experience. So basically you're left to thumb flick it and then kind of give it some wrist when it drops down. And that, I mean, it's okay. Like, it's just kind of meh. To me, this is just one of those meh knives. Not the biggest fan of it, but, don't really have too much issues with. I don't know. It's just kind of one of those knives. You guys know, especially those other reviewers out there, you just get some of those knives across your table where you're just like, meh, it is what it is. Like, it's going to be, unspectacular. I'm going to forget about it in a couple weeks after it leaves my table. So action is just whatever. I mean, you can slow roll it out, but the fact that I can't even middle finger, I got it there. But I got it there. Let's see if I can do 3 in a row. Nope. It's very, very meh in my opinion. So I don't know if I should go 3.5 or I'm going to go 3.5, which is pretty low for me in the action department. So you guys know this must not be the best knife for 814 EDC. But next up is acoustics. Not bad. I mean, not too bad. I mean, there is some internal milling on the liners, so you do have a little bit of areas for like the sound to reverberate in there. But overall, it's all right, and that's just kind of the theme of, and I'm going to quit repeating myself, but that's just kind of the theme of the knife is meh, all right, okay, decent, sort of. So as far as the acoustics go, I have to give it another 3.5. I just, and I have to be, you guys know I'm pretty picky with my acoustics, so 3.5 is a pretty run-of-the-mill, so I feel like that's very, very average for this knife. Next up is ergos. Now, the ergos is something I can applaud because it's very, very comfortable, but that tends to be a common thing whenever you have knives that are almost 9 inches overall, handle length of like 5 point some inches. I can get all 4 fingers on here very, very easily, and I could almost probably fit 2 or 3 more fingers on there if I wanted to. You do have some jimping up top here, and here, which I definitely like it being out here because if you are choked up as far as you can go, my thumb will just land on that jimping out there, and that gives you really good purchase for push cuts. The full flat grind, it's a pretty thin, narrow draw point style blade. You have a pretty pointy tip out here, and it kind of fattens out here towards the back here towards the scale. I'm not saying it's the least usable blade shape or the least usable blade I've ever seen, but it's not probably the best for certain things. I mean, it is decently thin behind the edge, but but as far as ergos go, the G10 is, it's good G10. I really don't have an issue with that. It has some nice contouring in different areas, but overall it's pretty much just 2 slabs of slightly contoured G10, but it's good. It's decent. And again, every big knife is supposed to be pretty comfortable in your hand, especially when it's just a pretty simple, straight line, have a little bit of a curvature, but it's a pretty overall simple design, simple lines. And when that comes to the ergos, it's good. Not amazing, but good. I'll give it a 4.5. It's not perfect, but it's pretty comfortable. And anyone with big mitts will be really, really happy with how this feels in your hand. So Next up is carry. It's, again, not bad. You know, the deep carry clip does go deeper than the actual knife, so this thing sits way down in your pocket, which I love. It disappears. However, it is pretty big, so, you know, your pockets have to be pretty deep. You know, and if your pockets are not deep, you might not be able to utilize that whole deep carry clip. So that's something you want to watch out for. Yeah, sits down in your pocket. You have no flipper tab, no jimping or anything like that to possibly catch on your hand if you're going to pull something out past the knife, and this possibly could slip on it. I really don't think you have much of an issue there. It is reversible, which is pretty much, you know, a necessity again whenever you have an ambidextrous or crossbar style lock knife here, like we do with the Pathfinder. You know, I mean, it's like I said earlier, I feel like it didn't weigh almost 5 ounces, but, you know, carrying it is a big knife. You definitely feel it. It's there. You know, the one thing that's really saving it is that loop over style deep carry clip. Again, if you have deeper pockets, this thing sits really deep, but reversible. Try not to be too hard on it because I'm trying to be transparent with my thoughts, but I'm also trying not to just like harp on the knife too much. You know, you get that loop over style deep carry clip. It's just big and long, and I'm gonna go 4. I really don't want to overthink things, and I'm trying to be transparent to you guys and just, you know, tell you the truth about my feelings towards this knife, which leads me to my final category of price point / value / would I recommend this knife. So the price point on the Real Steel Pathfinder FFG, which again will be linked down below in the description, is coming at $71. I think that's a very, very fair price considering you're getting almost a 9-inch knife. You're getting 14C 28N. You're getting dual thumb studs. You're getting an Axis style lock knife. It's, you know, the action is meh, but it's there. Loop over style deep carry clip, G10 scales. You know, you're getting a lot of knife for that price. So I think $70 is fair, especially, you know, 14C and G10 is, you know, anywhere from $50 to $100 in, you know, my opinion, a good value. So, you know, would I recommend this knife? Probably not. You know, I will say if someone ever came to me and said, Alex, I love the way the Pathfinder looks, do you recommend it? I will say I would recommend it if you prefer, you know, if you aren't very big on action and stuff like that, then yeah, if you like the style of the knife and you just want like a nice big kind of girthy folder that can be used in the kitchen on camping trips, things like that, then yeah, I can recommend it that way. But if you're someone like me and like a lot of other people, you know, you like to fidget with your knives and you know, really enjoy that fidget factor, you know, you're not going to get that with mediocre action and, you know, things of that nature. But so I can recommend it in certain ways, but most of the time, probably not. But although I do think it's a good value, so I'm going to give it a 5. When it, you know, comes together, all things considered, you know, good value for $70. I cannot deny that. So real quick, let me count this up for you guys. All right, so alrighty, guys. So the Real Steel Knives Pathfinder is coming in with a score / rating of 29.5, which lands it in the good category. All things considered, I think that's a fair score for it. I expected it to be a little bit lower, but, you know, 29.5 lands it in the good category, which is only the 4th knife so far in there. It ties with the Giant Mouse Ace Riv, and it just barely beats out the Tuya Voodoo and the Liang Ma Utatik Trinity. So, you know, fair enough rating, and I'm happy with it. So, but I'm going to wrap this up now. This was my full review on the Real Steel Knives Pathfinder FFG. Leave a comment down below. Do you guys have one of these in your collection? Do you have maybe the Scandi version? Do you have the Scandi fixed blade version? I would love to hear you guys have to say. And as always, huge shout out to Kevin over at Lefty EDC for letting us always check out, you know, cool stuff. Even though I wasn't a huge fan of this knife, it's always cool getting stuff in and across the table. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up now. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, day, night, whenever you're watching this, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.